Welcome back to Recap It. Today we are going to recap a 2022 adventure fantasy movie titled The King's Daughter. King Louis XIV, Pierce Brosnan, captures a mermaid and drains her life energy in order to gain immortality, but his illegitimate daughter's discovery threatens to derail the king's intentions. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to this channel. Now without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? The film begins in the manner of a fairy tale, with the narrator discussing a young woman named Marie Josephine, who was born and nurtured in a convent. She is a rebellious free spirit who frequently causes problems for the nuns, particularly the abbess. In France, Marie's father, Josephine's King Louis XIV, is about to give an address to the French people when he is assassinated. As the man is arrested, he is hit but unhurt. Dr. Lebarté tells Louis, who is terrified of his own mortality, that there is a particular aquatic species with magical powers that can grant him immortality. Captain Yves de la Croix leads a crew of fishermen sent by Louis. They come across the creature, a mermaid, and use a net to trap her. Her companion is also apprehended and tries to fight off the fisherman, but Yves simply lets him go back into the sea. Before returning to France, Yves used his royal pigeons to inform the king about the incredible capture. Lebarté delivers the message and informs Louis that the surgery to make him immortal will take place during an eclipse and will require the removal of the mermaid's organ. Father François Lachaise is the sole opponent. Lachaise sends a telegram to the convent where Marie Josephine is staying at the king's request, and the abbess is ready to get rid of her. Lachaise travels to the convent with a crew to bring the girl back, giving her the impression that she is on her way to Versailles to play music. When Marie Josephine arrives at Versailles, he is taken aback by how lovely the city appears. She befriends a servant named Magali, but everyone else, who is unaware that she is the king's daughter, regards her as an ordinary outsider. Magali took her to her room and showed her around as they talked all night. The next morning, Louis meets Jean-Michel Lindellac, the son of a wealthy baron. Lindellac informs Louis that his father is severely ill and about to die. Louis and Lachaise discuss how Lindellac stands to inherit a fortune and how passing down his father's status would benefit everyone. Marie Josephine catches others glancing at her while out for a walk with Magali. They visit a fountain, where she meets Yves for the first time and falls in love. Marie Joseph loses her equilibrium and falls into the fountain when Louis and his men arrive. Lindellac pulls her out, and she meets her father for the first time, though he still doesn't tell her anything about his relationship to her. In the meantime, Marie Josephine is planning to practice music, as it is one of her talents. The guys take the mermaid down into a chamber beneath the castle. Louis finds that she is depressed and gloomy as a result of being separated from her mate, and he instructs the guys to get her well so that the surgery can proceed smoothly. Later, while practicing in her room, Marie Josephine detects a vibration against her harp and follows the noise she hears. It takes her to the room where the mermaid is kept. Marie Joseph meets the mermaid and is taken aback by her beauty. Yves arrives to apprehend her, but Marie Josephine claims that the mermaid is creating some sort of musical noise, which she matches with her violin playing. The following day, Marie Josephine performs music with the royal ensemble before Magali assists her in preparing for a ball later that day. Everyone is taken aback by Marie's attractiveness, Josephine's, and she performs a public dance with Louis. Later, she discovers him outside, painting a portrait of his late wife. He mentions Marie's resemblance Josephine's to her. Louis bestows the title of Duke to Lindellac and later hosts a supper in his honor. Lindellac makes snarky remarks about Yves and his crew's story of sailing to catch the mermaid, forcing Yves to respond with more insults that offend him. After dinner, Marie Joseph returns to the mermaid and goes underwater to be closer to her. Yves came shouting for her, scaring the mermaid away as they stared at each other. Later, Yves takes Marie Josephine horseback riding, but she falls and seriously fractures her arm. Lebarté claims that the limb must be removed to prevent infection, despite the fact that everyone believes there must be another option. Later, Yves transports Marie Josephine and Magali to visit the mermaid and places her in the water. The mermaid utilizes her magical abilities to totally cure Marie's arm. Joseph's. The mermaid's actual strength astounds Yves and Magali. After observing how Marie's arm Josephine has healed, she believes Louis has brought the mermaid to France to cure the inhabitants' illnesses. Yves, on the other hand, informed her that the mermaid is only for the king's use. She later walks around the courtyard with Yves and kisses him. Louis arranges Lindellac's marriage to Marie Josephine so that they might share Lindellac's money. After spending more time with the mermaid, who took her swimming, Lachaise summons Marie Josephine. Louis admits to Marie Josephine that he is her father and then informs her that he wishes for her to marry Lindellac. She refuses and runs away, leaving Louis feeling guilty. La Chaise pays a visit to the mermaid, with whom she speaks telepathically. Realizing she is a sentient being with feelings, he confronts Le Barthé about killing her in order to satisfy the king's demands, but Le Barthé fully intends to proceed regardless. La Chaise expresses his dissatisfaction to Louis, who also refuses to change his position. Meanwhile, Marie-Joséphine visits the mermaid, who shows her a vision of Eve as the one who will catch her. Eve slips the procedure's image under Marie's door, Josephine's alerting her to the king's true intentions for the mermaid. She destroys the musical equipment and confronts Louis about his ambitions. She promises to marry Lindellac if he lets the mermaid free, but he refuses to comply. As everyone prepares for the wedding, La Chaise goes to Marie's room Josephine's to bring her to the mermaid's rescue. The two proceed to the chamber, where Eve is also attempting to extract the mermaid. Despite the fact that Marie-Joséphine reminds him of how he captured the mermaid, he is determined to set her free. They are discovered by Le Barthé and another goon, but they fight them off so that the mermaid can flee. Eve is shot by Le Barthé and falls into the water. As she swims out, the mermaid pulls Eve along with her. Le Barthé attacks Marie-Joséphine, who manages to fend him off. His foot becomes entangled in a rope, which Marie-Joséphine connects to a turning wheel, which draws him underwater. The goon who had been accompanying Le Barthé came over and told Louis what had happened. Louis and his men are on the hunt for her. Marie-Joséphine makes it to the edge of a precipice and finds that Eve is safe. Louis and his men arrive and ready to shoot the mermaid in order to complete the procedure, but Marie-Joséphine gives Louis the option of saving his own or his daughter's life. She leaps from the cliff and lands in the ocean, severely injuring herself. Louis watches her as she sinks into the ocean, and he has no choice but to order his troops to stand down with their weapons so that the mermaid can resurrect Marie-Joséphine. She and Eve kiss and swim to his boat, leaving Louis behind, and the mermaid swims home. La Chaise informs Louis that he is now a great king as well as a great man. Marie-Joséphine and Eve sail to Atlantis in order for Marie-Joséphine to reconcile with the mermaid, and she brings her underwater to see the city up close. And this where the movie comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed it, as always until next time.